Okay, so I will open the floor to questions. Who's going to be brave enough? We actually gave a bottle of wine, absolutely without being any permission, I gave a bottle of wine away last year, so I'll do exactly the same thing this year, because it's not my money. So a bottle of wine for the first person to stick their hand up and ask it. Good man.
Hello, I'm Richard Witt from Quadrangle Architects. I wanted to ask you, I was very interested to see that you were doing work in Brazil, which was a real surprise to me. And I wanted to know, are you, or did you consider other countries? Because I would imagine if you were going to do a sort of international expansion, that you would do it in lots of places rather than just one. So was that the only place, or were there others that you considered?
No, we worked very hard. We invested in the UK. Hardly an emerging market, but that was certainly...
Will be soon.
But South Africa, we were very interested in South Africa. In fact, we put in a bid for what's the name of the harbor of Cape Town, Victoria and Albert, the V&A. The whole harbor of Cape Town had been owned by a group of pension funds, and we put in a bid to buy that thing. We were very excited about that. Despite we had two partners that were South African, oh, sorry, I'm forgetting the terminology I used, but these were basically groups that were put together. They were funded by the government, and their profits were supposedly going back into the townships and so on. So, but you know, they did, through the government, they did put up serious money. There were three bidders in the end. Old Mutual, who the fellow there was active in Cape Town, ourselves, and then a guy from Ireland and one from the Middle East. We were within about $50,000. Old Mutual and ourselves were within about $50,000 on a $1.1 billion bid. The other guys outbid us by $300 million. So those are ones you don't mind losing. You know, if you'd lost it by, $10 million, you'd have gone crazy. But $300 million, that was easy. But that was, and in hindsight, it may have been a good miss because they've had a great deal of trouble there. Partly because they overpaid, but I think there've been other issues. We looked hard at India. Couldn't get comfortable there. We looked hard at Mexico. We spent a lot of time in Mexico. And again, we found some assets in Mexico that we were quite happy with. But we just couldn't get comfortable with the owners and the partnership there. So, I mean, that is so crucial. 'Cause when you're a few thousand miles away and you've got somebody on the ground who knows all the players, knows all the ins and outs, you can be losing your shirt and not even know it until it's too late. So you've really got to find somebody who's good, that you really do trust. And we were able to find that in Brazil. We weren't. U.S., again, we found a great partner in the U.S. Who we've had a long and very successful relationship with.
Did China come up on that?
I never had any interest in China. A couple of our filters were, democracy was a filter, land titles was a filter, and a court system you could depend on was a filter. Well, none of those sort of exist there today. So the board used to say, should we be looking in China? And I always promised them I'd go. I never did, but they understood my rationale there, and I had complete alignment with my executive team on that. It's just, there will be a day when Cadillac Fairview and others should be in China. There's a lot of real estate companies in China today. Some of them have been there for quite a while, and nobody's really making any money yet. As a retailer, you'd have to be there, but there's a big difference between renting a bunch of stores and dropping $300 million on a piece of land that it can't move. So.
Anybody? Over here.
You talked about relationships a lot tonight, and I think sometimes it's easy to ask, what makes you comfortable in a relationship. Could you talk about what makes you uncomfortable as you're doing that due diligence process in a relationship?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't think it's probably very scientific. It's you meet and talk to people, and you start dealing with people, and I think you rightly or wrongly, you get a level of comfort or trust. Whether you feel the person is dealing with you honestly and being open and candid, and that's a big part of it. Is really that comfort that you can trust the person and that there's an open dialogue, and I think there needs to be some chemistry that develops between two people if you're going to put your money in, and basically you're putting it in their care to an extent, even though you may have controls in your agreement. Inevitably you do, but my view is once you sign that onerous document, that partnership agreement or a shareholder agreement, and it should go into a drawer, and the day you bring it out again, it's usually because things haven't worked out. I'm a great believer that once you have to start referencing back to the shareholder agreement as to whose rights are what and so on, then you've probably passed a point of no return. So I don't know if that answers your question wholly, but that's
one. We've had the centre, we've had the left. I feel like Josh Groban. Come on the right. Here we go.
Just this conversation was about your life. So we've talked about your past. What about current? What are you doing now that you've left Cadillac Fairview?
Well, I'm thoroughly enjoying myself. Up until this evening, I was on the board of Allied. That may change, but no, I actually have just recently joined Allied's board, and I was absolutely thrilled to get that call because it's a company that I've always had a great deal of respect for. I think they've done a wonderful job for Toronto in preserving a lot of our buildings, and there's great leadership in the organization. So that's a new one. But I'm another very flattering call I got was from Bruce Duncan, who had been my CEO at Cadillac, and who was really a great proponent of me succeeding him there. So, but he is now the president of an industrial REIT in Chicago called First Industrial. And when he joined the company, he called me and asked me if I would go on the board. And he said, "I got to tell you, we're on the edge here, and this may not work out. This is a company that, there was a lot of work to be done." But in typical Bruce, well, first of all, me saying no to Bruce was pretty much a non-option, so I said yes. But he's a tremendously talented guy, and he taught me a lot about people and dealing with people. When he retired, I remember saying that he's a guy I wish I'd had an opportunity to work for 10 years earlier in my career, because I really did learn so much from him. And so on that, I'm on two other boards, which so they keep me busy. I'm doing a couple of direct investments myself, and I share an office with three other guys up in North Yonge, and I never wake up with nothing to do, and I've always got something to think about. So I'm really thoroughly enjoying myself. It's as good as I could have hoped for.
So I think if I ask you to hold your applause, because Monsieur is going to come up and just say a few words. And
Hi, I'm Mansoor Kazurani. I'm the co-chair of the ULI's program committee. And on behalf of the ULI, thank you all very much for attending this evening's wonderful chat. I'd like to thank our sponsors, our lead sponsor, Cadillac Fairview, and our event sponsors, TD and CBRE. Last but not least, thank you to our speakers, John for hosting this event, and Peter for sharing your wonderful insights, for the advice that you've provided, and for telling us your story. We thoroughly enjoyed it. A few housekeeping issues. An update first. Actually, before I get into the update, we are following up this event as we have the last few events with a related tour. And so the ULI has organized a tour of the TD Center. It's a members-only event, June 27th at 5:30 p.m., and it's limited to 30 members only. So if you are interested, do sign up. Spaces are filling up very quickly. Lastly, the ULI John Street pilot program. Last week, ULI and the City of Toronto and Metrolinx unveiled the John Street transformation in Western Village with a sidewalk cafe-style seating surrounded by flowers and a beautiful canopy of lights that framed the gateway to the Sunday Farmers Market in that area there. This pilot project is one of the first quick start initiatives that emerged from the TAPS Technical Assistance Program, which was held last year. It's actually fabulous. Everyone's invited to come and experience this magical transformation on John Street. I believe the installation will be up until early September. On that note, thank you all again for your attendance, and thank you. We do have a small token of appreciation for our guests tonight. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Peter?